إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستهديه إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستهديه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فهو المهتدي ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله صفيه وخليله أرسله بالحق بشيرا ونذيرا وداعيا إلى الله بإذنه وسراجا منيرا أما بعد فإن خير الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. عباد الله، إن الله تعالى يقول في كتابه العزيز: يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. ويقول سبحانه وتعالى: يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. My dear brothers and sisters, the whole Ummah, the Muslim Ummah, has remembered in these special days one important occasion, and that was the birth of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The birth of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the best human being that ever walked this earth, whom Allah chose to be His last prophet and messenger to all mankind. Every prophet and messenger before him was sent to his people, to a group of people, and Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was sent to all mankind. أرسلت للناس كافة صلى الله عليه وسلم. أرسل رحمة للعالمين. He was sent as a mercy to mankind. He came sallallahu alayhi wa sallam with the message of Islam. إن الدين عند الله الإسلام ومن يبتغي غير الإسلام دينا فلن يقبل منه وهو في الآخرة من الخاسرين. The religion for Allah is Islam, and whoever follows other religion than Islam, he will be certainly a loser on the Day of Judgment. Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he came to Arabia. He was sent in Arabia where people, they were practicing all sorts of wrong things, where the tribe is sacred than anything, where people worshipped idols. Every family had its own idols. Sometimes even a person can make his own idol to worship it. The Kaaba, the holy place that Allah has ordered to be built to mankind to worship Him, ليوحد سبحانه وتعالى ليعبد وحده لا شريك له, was surrounded by all sorts of idols. It was at that time when if somebody is given the news that his wife has given birth to a daughter, it will be a sign of shame. He will be hiding his face from people, and sometimes they resort to do the cruelest thing to a baby girl. They bury it alive. And they used to practice all sorts of fahisha, all sorts of wrong things. They drink alcohol, they commit adultery. They had values, they had good values, but they were mixed up with all sorts of wrong things. They had no guidance to follow. So when Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam came, he changed society radically. he stated the equal right of a woman, of a girl, same to a boy. And sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said, the best among you is the best to his family, and I am the best among you to my family. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he honored women. He gave them dignity and freedom to be what they are. They keep their name even in marriage. They do not become Mrs. So-and-so, but they remain the lady, carries her name, she inherits, she can conduct a business, her opinion is valuable, she will express her view, she gives bay'ah, and sallallahu alayhi wa sallam would listen to the simplest, to the humblest among them. A lady would take him by his hand and would address him and talk to him, and he would listen to her, he will answer her queries, he will, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, treat all members of society as equal. It was in his time, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, that the movement for liberating slaves, it became a charity to liberate slaves. It was in his time, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, that an ex-slave became his companion, became his best friend. He was his favorite mu'adhin, Bilal ibn Rabah, who was a slave. Salman al-Farisi, who became a slave, he became free. And so on, and so many other people who were slaved by other family because of their circumstance, because of their poverty, they were enslaved by other families. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam gave them the freedom, and they become equal members of society, where the only criteria is taqwa wal-amal as-salih. الناس سواسية لا فضل لعربي على أعجمي ولا لأعجمي على عربي ولا لأبيض على أسود، كما قال صلى الله عليه وسلم إن أكرمكم عند الله أتقاكم يا أيها الناس إن خلقناكم من ذكر وأنثى وجعلناكم شعوبا وقبائل لتعارفوا إن أكرمكم عند الله أتقاكم. The best among you is the most God-fearing. He didn't say the whitest among you are the best. He didn't say those who are descended from a special blood, they are superior race. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said, الناس سواسية. People are equal. People, الناس سواسية كأسنان المشط. لا فضل لعربي على أعجمي. He emphasized that Allah. It is not the language, it is not the race that makes you special. It is your taqwa, it is your deeds, it is your achievement, it's what you have contributed to society that makes you special. There is no prejudice in Islam against anybody because of his birthplace, because of his origin, because of his language, because of his ethnicity. In Islam we become all brothers and sisters in the faith. واذكروا نعمة الله عليكم إذ كنتم أعداء فألف بين قلوبكم فأصبحتم بنعمته إخوانا. My dear brothers and sisters, Arabs would enter into war with each other, wars that would last years, 10 to 25 years. Al-Aws wal-Khazraj, two major tribes from Medina, they've always been fighting each other for a long time. Till Muhammad came to Medina and he declared them brothers, and they become after that Al-Ansar, those who helped Islam, those who helped the Muslims in Muhajirin. And he also united the Arab tribes in Mecca, and they all become known as the Muhajirin. And one day there was a quarrel between two young men, and one of them called for Al-Ansar, Ya Al-Ansar, and the other one called for Al-Muhajirin. And it was about to begin a war between the Muslims themselves. And sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, when he heard of that, he was so angry, so upset. He said, you call for Jahiliyyah, and while I am still among you, أدعوى الجاهلية دعوها فإنها نتنة. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He said that is part of the past. It should never be a reason for Muslims to fight each other because they come from different nationalities that they did not create themselves. The occupier created boundaries, gave them nationality, created flags for them, and now they become more valuable than our brotherhood. That cannot be right. If you love Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, follow his example. My dear brothers, every Muslim and Muslimah should love Muhammad and follow his example sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. I'll quote to you some of the ayat and ahadith in this respect. قال تعالى in Surah At-Tawbah, قل إن كان آباؤكم وأبناؤكم وإخوانكم وأزواجكم وعشيرتكم وأموال اقترفتموها وتجارة تخشون كسادها ومساكن ترضونها أحب إليكم من الله ورسوله وجهاد في سبيله فتربصوا حتى يأتي الله بأمره والله لا يهدي القوم الفاسقين. Subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Muhammad said to them, if their fathers and their children and their brothers and their wives and their tribes and their money and their wealth and their trade and their houses, their places of dwelling, if they are more lovable to them, dearer to them than Allah and His Messenger, then let them wait for Allah's promise, because Allah does not love al-fasiqeen. He almost equated them to a fasiq, somebody who prefers dunya to Allah and to His Messenger, somebody who prefers his family to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, somebody who prefers his business, his money, his wealth, his house to Allah and His Messenger, and to striving for His cause. Then subhanahu wa ta'ala, He said that al-fasiqeen, Allah will not guide them. Wallahu la yahdi al-fasiqeen. It is so serious. In another hadith, it is reported that Umar ibn Khattab radiyallahu anhu, once he came to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and he said to him, Ya Rasulullah, لأنت أحب إلي من كل شيء إلا من نفسي. You are dearer to me than anything in the world except myself. He said, no, Ya Umar. He said, فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم, لا والذي نفسي بيده. By Allah, by whom my soul is in His hand, you will not love yourself more than me. He said صلى الله عليه وسلم, لا والذي بيده نفسي بيده حتى أكون أحب إليك من نفسك. You will not truly believe until I become dearer to you than yourself. And then Umar said, فإنه الآن والله لأنت أحب إلي من نفسي. فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم, الآن يا عمر. Now this is how you should be, and that's how every one of us should be, my dear brothers and sisters. In another explicit hadith, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, narrated by Abi Hurairah, and these are all authentic hadith in Sahih Bukhari and Muslim. He said, فَوَالَّذِي نَفْسِي بِيَدِهِ لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى أكون أحب إليه من والده وولده. He said, none of you truly believe until I become dearer to him than his parents and his children. None of you truly believes until Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam becomes dearer to you than your parents, than your own parents and your own children. عن أنس رضي الله عنه, he said in another hadith, لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى أكون أحب إليه من والده وولده والناس أجمعين. More or less same as the previous hadith, except he said, and dearer to him than the whole of mankind. In a hadith صلى الله عليه وسلم said, ثلاثا من كن فيه وجد حلاوة الإيمان أن يكون الله ورسوله أحب إليه مما سواهما وأن يحب المرء لا يحبه إلا لله وأن يكره أن يعود في الكفر كما يكره أن يقع أن يقذف في النار. صلى الله عليه وسلم, he said, none of you truly will taste the sweetness of faith until Allah and His Messenger becomes dearer to him than anything else. And he would love a man as his friend for Allah's sake. And he would hate to return to kufr or to shirk like he hates to be thrown into hellfire. And Anas ibn Malik, again, a man came to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and he asked him. He said, Ya Rasulullah, mata as-sa'a? When is the hour? Something that interests people. When is going to be the end of this world? He said, mata as-sa'a ya Rasulullah? When is the hour? Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, what did you prepare for it? What did you prepare for that day? He said, all I prepared is that I love Allah and His Messenger. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said, فَإِنَّكَ مَعَ مَنْ أَحْبَبْتَ. Anas radiallahu, he said, all I have is I love Allah and His Messenger. He said, you will be raised on the day of judgment with the people you love. If you love Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, you will be raised with him on the day of judgment. You will join him inshallah in Jannah, في جنة الفردوس. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Anas, he said, it was the most happy day in our life when we heard that. He said, فَمَا فَرِحْنَا بَعْدَ الْإِسْلَامِ فَرَحًا أَشَدْ مِنْ قَوْلِ النَّبِيِّ صلى الله عليه وسلم فَإِنَّكَ مَعَ مَنْ أَحْبَبْتَ. قال أنس فأنا أحب الله ورسوله وأبا بكر وعمر فأرجو أن أكون معهم وإن لم أعمل بعملهم. He said, this is the best news I've heard. This is the best thing I've heard after the good news of Islam, is that when Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, that a man will be raised with the people whom he loves. And I love Allah, I love His Messenger, and I love Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, and I love Umar radiallahu anhu, and I hope to be with them on the day of judgment, even if I did not do the same as they did, but I hope that I will be with them. My dear brothers, these are some of the hadith and ayat. One last ayah is Subhanahu wa ta'ala said, قُلْ إِن كُنْتُمْ تُحِبُّونَ اللَّهَ. Say, if you claim to love Allah, then follow Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. How do we express our love to Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? Is by obeying him, by following his guidance, by following his sunnah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, following his teaching, al-amr bil ma'ruf wa nahy 'anil munkar, doing da'wah, following his method sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He strived all his life to spread Islam, to stand against injustice, to free people from the slavery, from being enslaved by others, to become free and to become dignified and equal. This should be our mission, is to spread the good word of Islam, is to be active and involved and engaged sincerely and seriously in establishing the deen of Allah on this earth. Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the first thing he established when he returned to Medina, he built a Muslim state. He built the foundation to a state that lasted for almost 1400 years ago. And Islam, my dear brothers, in 23 years of his bi'tha sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, spread before he died, Islam spread all over Arabia. And in the time of the Caliphate, Islam managed to defeat the two major empires of that time, the Persian Empire and the Roman Empire, and established instead an empire based on faith. Not race, but based on faith. A power, a state that lives by its values, promotes values, and stands by the weak and the oppressed, wherever they may be, promoting justice and fairness in every sphere of life, in economy, in politics, in social justice. This is the way of Islam. This is what Rasulullah lived for. He said in his lifetime, I witnessed, before Islam, before I became a prophet, I witnessed a treaty that Arabs did together to stop wars among them. And it's called Hilf al-Fuhul. And he said, had the Arabs called for it today, I would have joined it. Muslims, they are for any effort that is for peace, for saving human life, for enforcing justice, and standing up to the tyrants. Those who are causing mischief these days and killing innocent people, and many of them, they are your brothers, our brothers and our sisters, followers of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Many of Muslims, they do not have the comfort to pray their Jumu'ah in safety like we are doing. May Allah bless this country, bring it its peace and prosperity, and guide it to the path of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And may Allah bring peace to every Muslim country. May Allah help the Ummah to follow the example of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر لكم وأغفر لكم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، أحمده حمد الشاكرين، وأصلي وأسلم على نبيه الأمين المبعوث رحمة للعالمين. My dear brothers, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was the model to follow. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that you have the best example to follow is in Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Uswatun hasana. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made him of the best manners. وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was kind and humble with his followers. وَلَوْ كُنْتَ فَضًّا غَلِيظَ الْقَلْبِ لَانْفَضُّوا مِنْ حَوْلِكَ. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was humble and kind to the simplest member of his community. Any member can address him, any member of the community could take private time and talk to him about his business. He was the kindest to his servants. Anas radiallahu anhu, he said, I served Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam for 10 years. And in that 10 years, he never told me, why did you do that and why didn't you do that? He said once he sent me to fetch him something, and then I found boys playing, and I joined them playing, and I forgot what Rasulullah told me to do. And when he saw me, he just took by my hand, and he said he was the kindest man, and I love him. And I think the last hadith I read for you, he was expressing his genuine love for the best man he knew in his life. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He was the best man to his wife. May Allah help us to follow his example and to be as good to our wives. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He would be in the service of his family. He would help them to wash and clean the house. He does not, yet he was a prophet. He was a leader of the ummah. Okay? He had a lot of responsibility, more than the average person among us. Yet he found time to serve and help his family and be kind to his children. He would be in prayer, and then Hassan and Hussein would jump over his back and over his head, and he would stay in ruku' as long as they are playing. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He never shunned them. He never told them off. That's how kind he was. Kind to the children, kind to the boys, kind to the girls, kind to his women, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the kindest to his ummah, and the most merciful to all mankind. Let us promote the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, his example, promote his life and his teachings, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And alhamdulillah, those who thought that they can attack the Muslims in the personality of Muhammad, they realize they cannot win. It made Muslims more determined to follow his example and to defend his honor, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. We will not accept anybody ridiculing Muhammad or making fun of his person, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Nor do we accept anybody making fun of any of his prophets, Jesus or Moses or any other prophets. We respect them equally, and we will express our protest and our disagreement with anyone who will do so. My dear brothers, he was consulting his people. He practiced the concept of shura. He was a prophet. He was guided by al-wahy. Yet, in the simplest matters, he would consult his community. After all, it is an order from Allah. It is part of our belief that we practice shura. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. وَشَاوِرْهُمْ فِي الْأَمْرِ. Allah ordered him to consult his community, and he would consult them, and he would follow the majority opinion, even if his personal opinion was not that opinion. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He raised the best people that spread goodness and dominated and ruled the world for a long time. Can we reverse the process? Can we regain our glories and our dignity and bring justice and peace to the world? Yes, we can. But we have to follow his example, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. When I look at Muslims today, and when I see them, for the simplest thing they fight each other, for the simplest thing they declare war on one another, for the simplest thing they ridicule each other, they look down upon each other because it is different, he follows a different opinion, he follows a different, and they become enemies. We can never achieve those glories if we do not follow his example and the example of his companions. It does not mean that they were of the same opinion in every matter. Far from it. They were just like you and me. They had disagreement, misunderstanding. They understood Rasulullah commanded differently. And I said these examples in previous khutbahs. The example of those Sahaba to whom Rasulullah said, صلوا العصر في بني قريظة. Try to pray Asr in Bani Qurayza. And the two companions understood it differently. One of them, when it was Asr time, he prayed. The other person did not agree. He said, Rasulullah pray in Bani Qurayza. Bani Qurayza is a Jewish tribe in Medina. And he reached by Isha time, then he prayed Asr. When they returned to Rasulullah, they said, Ya Rasulullah, please, this is what my brother did, and this is what I did. Who is right? He said, both of you are right. Allahu Akbar. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Because every one of them believed sincerely that this is the best opinion. This is what Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam meant. My dear brothers, if this happened today, they will fight each other. They become enemies. Look at him. He delayed his prayer, and they will make fun of each other. I will tell you, my dear brothers, how Allah described Muhammad and his followers. He said, Muhammadur Rasulullah, وَالَّذِينَ مَعَهُ أَشِدَّاءُ عَلَى الْكُفَّارِ رُحَمَاءُ بَيْنَهُمْ. Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and his followers, and those who follow him, are tough with the enemies of faith, the enemies of Islam, but they are kind and mercy to one another. أذلة على المؤمنين أعزة على الكافرين. A believer should be humble, should show humility towards his fellow Muslims. Not the opposite. We show kindness, civility with non-Muslims, but if he's an Arab, he's a Muslim, he's a Pakistani, we show disrespect. We do not treat each other with what is the due respect we are supposed to show to one another. If you follow Muhammad, if you love Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, love your brothers, show humility and humbleness with them, and be tough with those who are fighting you, fighting your deen, those who are working hard, conspiring against your deen, your ummah day and night. Do not make your fellow Muslims as your enemies. Don't misjudge the requirement of faith. Requirement of faith is that we believe in Allah and His Messenger, and we love the followers of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They are our brothers, our sisters. Didn't Allah say, وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا? Didn't Allah say, وَلَا تَنَازَعُوا فَتَفْشَلُوا وَتَذْهَبَ رِيحُكُمْ? ألم يقل صلى الله عليه وسلم المؤمن المسلم أخو المسلم? Didn't Rasulullah صلى الله عليه وسلم also said that the Muslims مثل المسلمين مثل المؤمنين في توادهم وتراحمهم كمثل الجسد الواحد? The example of believers in their care for one another, in their love for each other, like one body. Does the body neglect one part of it? If your hand, if your finger is hurt, do you think the body will ignore it? No, it will react to it. All the body will activate all its defenses, trying to defend and stop any invaders entering the body. That's the immune system. And then you will have fever, and probably you will have sleepless nights because some part of your body is ill. Maybe you have heart problem, chest problem. The simplest thing, just a simple cut, your body will react to it. Let alone today when you see some parts of the Muslim Ummah, they are bleeding, they are being killed, they are homeless, refugees. Would you ignore them? Would you pretend it didn't exist? Would you pretend it's not happening? Or would you care about them and you try to do actively something you can? May Allah help us to follow the example of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. May Allah help us to love one another and be kind to each other. Love our parents, respect our elders, love our scholars, respect and be kind to our youth and our children. Love our wives and our daughters and our mothers and respect them and give them the due respect. This is if we follow Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. اللهم اهدنا فيمن هديت وعافنا فيمن عافيت وتولنا واصرف عنا شر ما قضيت اللهم لا تدع لنا ذنبا الا غفرته